What's going on YouTube? This is Sorare Teacher here. Now, I wasn't planning to make this video. My next video was actually planning to be an MLS power ranking video, since MLS is really what I watch the most and what I enjoy the most. But over the past couple of days, I've noticed a lot, and I mean a lot of questions in the Sorare Discord about prices and why prices are going down and the potential reasons that might be happening and all these conspiracy theories about what the heck is happening to the cyber market because prices for quite a lot of players have dipped pretty hard recently. So I just want to make a video talking about what the heck is going on with the silver market, why things are the way they are, why prices might be dipping slash crashing, depending on the players you're looking at, and really what to do about it, right? What you should be doing right now while this dippening or crash or whatever you want to call it is going on. So, um, first and foremost, when you think about the prices dropping, you have to keep it in context of cyclical markets, right? So, right, they're all NFTs, they're things that you're buying, things you're selling. And so, just like any other asset, there's going to be a cyclical market, right? There's going to be seasonal markets, things go up, things go down, depend on things. Well, as you can imagine, this is a soccer game or a football game, whatever you want to call it, and so prices are pretty heavily dictated by the soccer seasons or the league seasons around the world, right? When you look at player prices right now, the ones that are dropping the hardest are guys in European leagues, right? So people in the Challenger Europe leagues and the Champion Europe leagues, right? Bundesliga, um, Ligue 1, right? The Serie A, like those leagues, those are the ones that are having the biggest price drops. And obviously that's because those seasons are coming to an end, right? If you are in a Big Five league, like a Champion Europe league, your season's basically over in a little over like a month and a half or so, right? Like early mid May is when a lot of seasons are coming to an end. Also, some Challenger Europe leagues are quickly coming to an end, right? In the Belgian Jupiler League, right, where you have the likes of Ghent and Genk and Bruges. If you are not a top team, right, if you're in like the bottom half of the table, you basically only have a couple of games left in the entire season, and then your season's over, right? If you're not fighting for the championship, if you're not fighting for like a Europa League playoff spot, your season is done within a couple of weeks, right? Within like I think early or mid-April, your season's basically over. And so a lot of people who play so rare are trying to offload those cards that are going to be useless very very soon, right? Within about a month or two's time. And so if you look at price charts uh, across a lot of European players, they're falling, right? And I'm just using this example. There's not a lot of data for this guy because there's not a lot of cards out for him. But just as a quick example to show you kind of what's happening for a lot of top tier players across these European leagues, right? Now, if you compare this to what's going on in like MLS, right, in the Americas or in Japan, seasons that basically just started, prices are fine. Prices for good players are still going up. Prices are still high. They're still being relatively stable for a lot of the guys that you want to be using in those seasons or in those leagues, right, in the Champion America division. And so this phenomenon, or these price drops, is pretty much tied or correlated to, in my opinion, the seasons ending, right, in a lot of these big European leagues. Also, something else has been happening, and I'm sure if you've been playing SoAir, paying attention, you've probably noticed this, but they're auctioning off a lot of cards, right? Doing this scouting season thing, they're auctioning off a ton of cards across every division, every league, every region of the world, right? And so they're increasing supply quite a lot for pretty much every region in the world currently, right? So that's going to, you know, maybe not substantially, but at least somewhat drive the prices down as supply goes up, right? So we got seasons ending, we have supply going up. Also, I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the price of ETH recently either. I know a lot of people who play Sorare buy their cards with their native currency and aren't necessarily that interested in cryptocurrency or Ethereum specifically. But Ethereum at the moment, and I know things fluctuate every day, But at the moment, things have gone over $3,000 again, right? 3,000 American dollars. And so as the price of Ethereum goes up, the value of these cards in Ethereum will gradually go down, right? Now, if the card is really good, if the card's in high demand, that won't necessarily be the case. But on average, their value in Ethereum will probably start dropping bit by bit, right, as the price goes up. Now, if the price goes back down, it's a different story. But right now, things are on a trajectory upwards again. And so values will steadily decline in terms of its ETH pricing. So you got a whole bunch of things going on at the same time, right? ETH going up, European seasons ending, supply of cards expanding, right? You got all these things going on that are kind of driving the prices down of players you typically wouldn't expect it to happen, right? Some top tier, high profile guys. So what are you supposed to be doing when the market is doing this, right? What is your job as a server player when the market is reacting this way, or when prices are dropping? Well, if you have the funds, like I do, for example, it is buying season, right? It is buying season for guys who are good, who are top tier starters, who are consistent starters, guys who have a lot of utility. Um, if you are planning to play Challenger Europe or Champion Europe, now's actually the time, and I would say you probably want to be buying now, as well as over the next month or two, because I think now is really when you're going to start seeing prices bottom out for really good European players, right? I'd say maybe not bottoming out like today or tomorrow, but probably over the next month or so, you're going to see prices for these European guys that people really want to use and have start to bottom out, right? So if you're a silver player, now's the time you actually want to be buying or picking up guys you want to be using down the road in the upcoming MLS seasons at the later this year, right? In the summer of this year and the fall of this year. This is now when you actually want to be buying those players because prices are getting really, really juicy for those guys. For example, let's actually use the guy I have showing on my screen right now, Philip Lienhart with Freiburg, right? Freiburg is this year a top half table Bundesliga team. They've got a really talented roster, a really stacked defense. They've been playing out of their minds this season. Well, Lienhart, he's a starting center back. He has really good scores, where you can see his L5 is 58. Consistently scores really, really well in the Bundesliga on, again, a top half table team, right? So not going to get relegated anytime soon, as far as I'm concerned. He also plays for the national team of Austria, right? So when Austria has international games or international qualifying games, he gives you some added utility, right? Because you can use him in those international games as well when he's playing for Austria. I don't think he starts every game. He just recently started playing for the senior national team, but he does get a good chunk of time with the national team, right? You can see, for example, in Austria's last two games in November, he actually played and started in both of those games, right? So he gets a lot of good minutes with the international Austrian men's team. Well, you can see with these scores, right? He's a pretty solid player, right? Not a lot of reds, right? With his L40, or about the next through his entire history, I can only see 5 red scores here, right? So overall, he's a pretty consistently good scorer. He's got a pretty high ceiling, right? You can see he scores well up into the high 80s, into the 90s. So he's got a pretty good ceiling on him. His price for a champion Europe player, right? A top 5 Big 5 league in Europe. Look at his last sold, right? Or I should say, like, what happened today, right? I'm filming this on the 23rd of March. He sold for 0.155 earlier today, and you're getting a starting center back in a Big 5 Champion Europe league, right? Also a guy who plays for his international team for the price of, honestly, the price of like a slightly average, maybe a slightly above average MLS center back, right? You can buy like Jack Elliott, you can buy like fairly decent starting center backs in America in the MLS for the same price as a guy in a Bundesliga top half table club. In my opinion, that's pretty crazy, right? So if you're, if you have the funds, you want to be buying players like Lienhart right now, right? Because they're going cheaper than they will be in the summer in a few months, right? They're cheaper now than they will be in the summer for sure. Another example, and this is a guy that I actually own, is Paul Nwachu, a guy who's a consistent Golden Boot candidate in the Belgian Jupiler League, right? The top tier division in Belgium. Now there is some reports or some rumors that he might be leaving the Belgian league. That some big clubs in a Champion Europe, Champion Europe club might buy him. The rumors right now is that he might go to like an Italian team, for example. But in my opinion, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? If he goes to a Champion Europe club and he becomes a starter and he plays well, his price is gonna shoot up, right? Because Champion Europe forwards who are consistent starters and play well, they're typically worth more than like any other forward in any other league, right? Because Champion Europe is like the prize division, the prize league. So if he leaves and he goes somewhere else as a Champion Europe club and he does well, like he's gonna be worth more than he is now at Genk, right? And Genk in the Jupiler League. Well, his price right now, you can get him for about zero point 0.3 ETH. That is the same price as Christian Dahome for the Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS in the United States, or sorry, in North America, not that's because Vancouver's in Canada, obviously, right? So I'm an MLS player, an MLS forward he's fine, like he's not super good. Like you can see, like he's fine. Not a ton of decisives. Pretty good AA wise, right? His AA score is pretty good. But in terms of decisives, he doesn't get like a ton of those. Same price. You're getting a Golden Boot candidate player, a guy who might be a starting forward for a Champion Europe club next fall for the same price as Christian Dahome in the MLS. That is mind-boggling to me, right? I'm honestly flabbergasted at these prices. So just thinking about players who are really good, players who are consistently good, players who might get good transfers or good moves. Like if you are a guy who wants to own European cards, like stars in Europe, the time to buy is either now or very soon in the future, right? Because the bottom will probably be in for these cards within the next month and a half, in my opinion, my estimation. Like obviously, like I don't know, right? This game has only been around for a couple of years, so there's not a lot of market cycles to work off of. But in my opinion, like by May, the bottom is probably going to be in for the guys that you want to own and want to be using next season in these European leagues, right? So, like I said, if you got the funds, you want to be a buyer, not a seller, right? Don't panic. Don't think server's ending, server's crashing, sell. You honestly want to be doing the opposite right now for the players that you want to own and want to be using next season, right? So I know you'll have some months without any utility, right? These guys you won't be able to use them for a while because their seasons will be over pretty soon. But if you have patience and you're willing to hold these guys through the summer when you can't use them into next season, you will be pretty well rewarded. When one, their prices shoot up, and two, their prices will probably be higher than they were at their peak this season because the platform is growing at a pretty rapid rate, right? You can see last season this guy was selling for zero point 0.6 ETH. Well, if the platform continues to grow at its current trajectory, I can see Anawachu being worth more than zero point 0.6 ETH at the start of next season. So, like I said, if you have patience, if you're willing to just sit on your hands, like buy these guys and then just sit on your hands and wait to use them at the start of next season, I think you'll be pretty well rewarded. Have a nice ROI, right? A nice return on your investment, and you're getting your favorite players, you're getting your stars in these big leagues in Europe for cheap prices, right? For a big discount than you would otherwise. So anyway, that's all I got to say. I just wanted to talk about what was going on, try to dispel some theories or conspiracies as to maybe why prices are dropping. I also want to just give you some advice in terms of what you should be doing right now rather than panicking, right? Because the last thing you want to do is panic. Now is when you want to be a buyer and start preparing for the next seasons in Europe, right? In the Challenger Europe League or in the Champion Europe divisions. So don't sell, don't panic. You want to be a buyer if you're able to be a buyer. So that's all I got for you. I'll see you next time when I talk about my MLS power rankings since we're about a month into the new MLS season. See you later.